Good morning, guys. So, if you couldn't tell, I am at work. I am working at the one outlying clinic that I used to work at like 2 to 3 days a week before I switched to the sleep center. Um, so I realized that today's Wednesday, and on Monday, I had my interview for the new medical assistant 2 position that I had applied for that I told you guys about. And I never really gave you guys any information on how the interview went. So I want to just preface this by saying that I was super nervous the whole time. I just kept telling myself that I needed to calm down. Like, I was freaking out. I don't know why I was so nervous, but I was extremely, extremely nervous. And I think part of it is because I wanted that job so badly. And I say wanted like past tense, but they have not made a decision yet. So I am still waiting. I know today's Wednesday, and she said that they were doing interviews for the 2 open positions that they have up until today. So, they're still interviewing for the positions. So they said it could be 2 weeks or more before I hear from HR about the position. So I'm hoping that it won't be that long, but if you guys watched my last video where I talked about putting in my 2 weeks notice and my boss telling me that it had to be a 28-day notice, which is actually over a month because I put my notice in September 30th and she basically told me that I had to work there until November 7th. So that's more than a month. But regardless, it is what it is. So when I got to the building or facility that I was interviewing at, first of all, the person that I set up the interview with was kind of like not super detailed as far as directions for how to find um like where I needed to go to check in for this interview. So basically she's like, when you get to the building, go up the stairs and then there will be secretaries right there. And so like I ended up going through patient registration instead of to the scheduling desk, which I guess is where I was supposed to be going. Um, so anyways, I got to my interview. I feel like it went fairly well. There were a couple questions, like they were your standard interview questions, but I feel like there were a couple questions where I kind of didn't give them the exact answer that they were looking for. So they did ask follow-up questions. Like one of them was, when you're giving an injection, whether it's an immunization or administering a medication of some kind, like how do you, or what do you do to verify the accuracy? And so I had talked about like, before I take it from wherever it is, like whether it's in a med room or in like a Pyxis type system, that sort of thing, I verify that it is the correct medication or immunization that I am supposed to be giving. I then make sure to look at the vial itself to make sure that nothing is expired. Once I do that, I this is how I answered. So I will tell you, and then I'll tell you how I clarified. So then I said, once I draw it up in the syringe, I have another person check. I have them check the vial as well, but I also have them check once I've drawn up the medication or immunization in the syringe just to make sure that I have the correct amount. And so that was kind of where I ended it. And they asked, well, how do you make sure that it's the right person? And so, like, I forgot to even say anything about, like, before I even go in the room, like making sure to verify the order and making sure before I actually administer the medication to verify that it's the correct person. And I do that in my normal everyday work, but for whatever reason, I just didn't talk about that when I was in my interview. So I was glad that they asked that clarifying question because I felt kind of dumb after that. I do think I recovered well because they were all like nodding their heads and smiling, and I'm hoping that that's a good sign because I would really like this position. the position pays almost $20 an hour. It's like just under $20 an hour. And I would definitely be happy with that. I also want to say that the clinical nursing supervisor is one of the 3 people that I interviewed with. So I interviewed with a person who works in the clinic, the clinical nursing supervisor, and one of the providers that works in the clinic. So every one of them had questions. They kind of went around the table asking me different interview questions off of the sheets of paper that they had. And the clinical nursing supervisor asked me if I was only interested in their urgent care or walk-in clinic position, or if I would be interested in being considered for one of their family medicine positions as well, because they have 2 positions open right now. One is in their urgent care / walk-in clinic, and the other position is available in their family medicine clinic, which would be like primary care, family medicine stuff. And so I did tell her that I would be fine with being considered for either or both. I don't necessarily have a preference. I just think that, since I'm moving, that, I'm open to whatever. And I did make sure to emphasize, the fact that, I'm very trainable, very teachable, and I'm willing to do whatever I need to do in order to be trained in this new position. If they choose to hire me. And so I also feel like, how at the end of an interview they ask you they ask you if you have any questions. I have done this a few times in interviews where I say that I don't really have any questions, but I feel like it almost makes people think that you're not interested in the position actually. And so I made sure to ask 2 questions. So the one question, I don't even know where it came from. It just kind of popped into my head when she asked me if I had any questions. And so the question that I asked was, and I think that it was a really good question to ask, I said, so what would you say are things that I can do within my first 3 months of working here if I am offered the position that would make me successful in this role? And they were talking for like 15 minutes after I asked that question. So if you're in an interview and they ask you something like that, at the very least, ask a question that is either that question or something very similar to that, because it definitely got them talking. Like I said, they were talking for about 15 minutes responding to that question. And then the other question that I asked them was like what the next steps were. And so that was when they told me, that, how did they say it? They said that usually what they do is they make a decision after they complete their final interview, which would be one of the interviews or the interview that they're doing today. And so they usually make a final decision and that same day, and then they give all of their information over to their HR department. And then after that, HR is responsible for kind of reaching out and doing offers and things like that. And so she said, if you don't hear from HR within 2 weeks, to make sure to reach out to HR and see what's going on, check on the status of your application and all of that sort of thing. So that is kind of what I'm waiting for right now. So we shall see how that goes. But yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to tell you guys how my interview went. I'm hoping it went good. Like, I would really love to have that position. If I don't get that position, then I will just continue to apply for other positions in the area that I'm moving to. Like, right here at the Outline Clinic, I'm kind of halfway between where I live now and where I'm moving to. So, it's just kind of weird. But anyways, I'm going to go inside shortly because it is 7:42 and I like to be inside prior to 8 a.m. So yeah, anyways, I just thought that I would share that with you guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.